Did you know, according to Georgia Commission on Family Violence, there have been over 1,000 fatalities due to domestic violence? In 2011 alone, there were 108 deaths caused by domestic violence in Georgia. Partnership Against Domestic Violence is a nonprofit organization in Atlanta that seeks to end domestic violence and provide support for their victims. Most of us have known or heard about people being involved in domestic violence at some point or another. You know the true dangers and severity of this kind of abuse. Most of us can sympathize with the victims because we have had some kind of direct link to domestic violence. Today I'll be telling you what kind of problems exist that brought about this organization. Then I will tell you some more information about Partnership Against Domestic Violence. And finally, I will tell you how you can become involved in stopping domestic violence. Now that I've told you what we will be discussing today, I need to fill you in on what brought this organization about. As told by Women's Rescue Center in 2007, domestic violence is something that does not discriminate. It affects everyone in its path regardless of age, color, race, or sexual orientation. In the state of Georgia, domestic violence has become a real epidemic. In 2011, the Federal Bureau reported that every 9 seconds a woman is beaten by their spouse. Georgia has the third most domestic violence reports among all 50 states. This should be a real eye-opener for our community. The problem comes when people begin to feel stuck in the abusive relationship. When the abuse starts, of course, no one wants it to continue, but that doesn't mean they want their relationship to end as well. And to make matters worse, in 2013, Georgia Commission of Family Violence found that 18% of domestic violence fatalities were witnessed by children. This really shows us how everyone is affected by domestic violence and not just the people in the relationship. Another factor that stops the victim from leaving the abusive relationship is they feel that they are at fault. According to Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence, 1 in 4 victims of domestic violence never tried to stop it because they felt that it was their fault. Abuse is never the victim's fault, no matter what the circumstance. I've just informed you of who domestic violence affects and some of the current issues surrounding it. Now I'm going to tell you what others are doing to help. Is domestic violence ever okay? Should others have to continue to stay quiet and endure the harm of abuse? I don't think so, and there are many others that agree as well. According to Partnership Against Domestic Violence's website, their primary goal is to end the crime of intimate partner violence and empower its survivors. This organization has been around for 39 years and is the largest nonprofit domestic violence organization in Georgia. They strive to offer safety and shelters to all of their victims and their families. They also educate the public about domestic violence and the precautions that everyone should be taking. Partnership Against Domestic Violence presents many opportunities to get everyone involved. Because domestic violence is such a big problem in our community, this organization has been continuing to grow and develop to fit the needs of the victims. American Psychological Association of Violence and Family found that 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence at some point in their life. That's a statistic that Partnership Against Domestic Violence is trying to live up to. They encourage all who have an interest to volunteer and donate to the cause to do so. They are constantly providing shelters and meals for victims and their families. They also hold drives to collect items for victims who have just left their partners. Typically, when domestic violence victims flee, they have to leave all their belongings and just go. So these drives really help get all the victims their necessities. As you can see, domestic violence is a major problem in our area, and standing up and making the change is going to impact our community greatly. That's why Partnership Against Domestic Violence has been such a helping hand in getting these victims the necessities to overcome the abuse. If you would like to help as well, then volunteer and donate. All proceeds and benefits go directly to the cost of providing shelter, safety, and treatment for the victims. Today we've discussed who domestic violence affects and the dangers of it, what Partnership Against Domestic Violence is, and how help from this organization alongside our donations, can truly help the city of Atlanta and others surrounding it. We must all keep in mind that this is our community, and we must help the victims in their time of need. We need Partnership Against Domestic Violence to continue to help us support and provide safety for these victims. Remember, domestic violence affects more and more people every day. By not doing your part, the epidemic will continue to go on, and people will be hesitant to speak out. Don't neglect these victims.
Good job.